To pass a slower-moving vehicle on a two-lane, two-way road, you must A. Not cross the center line. B. Flash your lights at oncoming traffic. C. Use the shoulder. D. Use the lane that belongs to oncoming traffic. D. Use the lane that belongs to oncoming traffic. Passing on a two-lane, two-way road requires good judgment because you must use the lane belonging to oncoming traffic to complete your pass. Only pass if you may safely and legally do so. Dashed lines separating lanes of traffic indicate a no passing zone. A. True. B. False. B. False. Solid lines are used to indicate areas where it is not safe to pass. Dashed lines are used to indicate areas where drivers may pass, if it is safe to do so. When arriving to an uncontrolled intersection at the same time as vehicles to your right and left, you should A. Yield the right-of-way to the vehicle on your left. B. Yield the right-of-way to the vehicle on your right. C. Wait until there are no vehicles at the intersection before proceeding. B. Yield the right-of-way to the vehicle on your right. If multiple vehicles arrive at the same time to an intersection that is not controlled by signs or signals, the driver on the right has the right-of-way. Drivers should then proceed in the order that they arrive to the intersection. The absence of a sign or pavement marking preventing passing means that it is safe to pass. A. True. B. False. B. False. Lane markings and signs can tell you where it is unsafe to pass. Only you can tell if it is safe to pass in other areas.
Want to ace your DMV test? Click on the link below and get your guaranteed cheat sheet.
As you near an intersection, the traffic light changes from green to yellow. Your best action is to A. Speed up to beat the red light. B. Apply the brakes sharply to stop. C. Be prepared to stop in the center of the intersection. D. Be prepared to stop before the intersection. D. Be prepared to stop before the intersection. A steady yellow traffic light indicates that the light will soon change to red. You should be prepared to stop for the red light, if it is safe to do so. When driving at night, using only your parking lights is unlawful. A. True. B. False. A. True. It is unlawful to drive at night using only your parking lights. Drivers are required to use their headlights when driving in the dark. This road sign means A. No right turn. B. Drive only in the direction of the arrow. C. Curve ahead. B. Drive only in the direction of the arrow. Regulatory signs provide notice to road users of traffic laws that must be obeyed. Where this sign is present, drivers must drive in the direction indicated by the arrow. This road sign means A. You are about to enter a one-way street from the wrong direction. B. U-turns are prohibited. C. You may proceed if the way is clear. D. Come to a complete stop before proceeding. A. You are about to enter a one-way street from the wrong direction. If you drive past these signs, you are going the wrong way and are at risk of a head-on collision. you should cautiously turn around. When driving in thick fog with very bad visibility, the safest option is to A. Drive at a speed under 10 miles per hour. B. Use your high-beam headlights. C. Pull off the road and stop, using your emergency flashers. D. Honk periodically. C. Pull off the road and stop, using your emergency flashers. If fog becomes so thick that you can barely see, it is best to pull off the road, activate your emergency flashers, and stop. Wait to proceed until visibility improves. Do not creep along the road at a slow speed. This road sign means A. All traffic must turn right. B. No right turn. C. All traffic must go straight ahead. D. A road joins from the right. D. A road joins from the right. This sign indicates that there is an intersection ahead. A road joins from the right. You are driving on a city street and see an emergency vehicle with flashing lights behind you. What should you do? A. Drive to the right edge of the road and slow down. B. Drive to the right edge of the road and stop. C. Stay in your lane, slow down, and let it pass. B. Drive to the right edge of the road and stop. You must yield the right of way to any emergency vehicle that is using its siren and lights. Drive to the right edge of the road and stop until the emergency vehicle has passed. If you are within an intersection, drive through the intersection first and then stop. Always stop before crossing railroad tracks when A. There isn't room on the other side for you to completely cross the tracks. B. The railroad crossing is located in a city or town that has frequent train traffic. C. You are transporting 2 or more young children in a passenger vehicle. A. There isn't room on the other side for you to completely cross the tracks. Expect a train on any track, at any time, traveling in either direction. If you need to stop after crossing the tracks, wait until you can completely cross the tracks before proceeding. Make sure your vehicle clears the tracks before you stop. Alcohol is A. A stimulant. B. An antihistamine. C. A depressant. C. A depressant. Alcohol is a depressant that dulls your judgment and makes your reflexes unreliable. What does a single dashed white line separating traffic mean? A. Drivers may pass, even if it could be dangerous. B. Lanes move in opposite directions. C. Drivers may not pass. D. Drivers may pass if it is safe to do so. D. Drivers may pass if it is safe to do so. White lines separate lanes of traffic that are moving in the same direction. Dashed white lines may be crossed to pass or change lanes, if it is safe to do so. When parallel parking between 2 cars, you should first A. Turn your wheels to the left. B. Turn your wheels to the right. C. Pull up even with the car in front of your desired parking space. D. Back slowly. C. Pull up even with the car in front of your desired parking space. After finding a parking space, checking traffic, and signaling, you should stop parallel to the vehicle directly ahead of your desired parking space before turning your wheel to park. Before switching on the ignition, You should. A. Be sure only backseat passengers have buckled their seat belts. B. Be sure only adult passengers have buckled their seat belts. C. Be sure only child passengers have buckled their seat belts. D. Be sure all of the vehicle's occupants have buckled their seat belts. D. Be sure all of the vehicle's occupants have buckled their seat belts. Develop a routine for entering and leaving your car. Before switching on the ignition, buckle your safety belt and see that all passengers do likewise. This road sign means A. The roadway ends ahead. B. Drivers must bear either right or left. C. A four-way intersection is ahead. B. Drivers must bear either right or left. Warning signs are usually yellow with black markings. This sign warns drivers that they are arriving upon a fork in the road and they must bear either right or left. Water on the road can cause a vehicle to hydroplane. Your car may hydroplane at speeds as low as A. 45 miles per hour. B. 35 miles per hour. C. 40 miles per hour. B. 35 miles per hour. Hydroplaning occurs when there is standing water on a roadway. At speeds up to 35 miles per hour, most tires will channel water away from the tire. As your speed increases past 35 miles per hour, tires cannot channel the water as well and your tires may start to lose contact with the road and ride over the water like a set of water skis. This sign means A. Low clearance. B. Fines double in a work zone. C. No left turn. D. Do not block intersection. A. Low clearance. Warning signs prepare drivers for upcoming road conditions and hazards and are usually yellow with black markings. This sign tells drivers that they are approaching an area with low clearance. While driving, your wheels slip off the edge of the road. You should A. Jerk the steering wheel to force the vehicle back onto the pavement. B. Speed up and steer back onto the pavement gradually. C. Slam on your brakes and stop. D. Slow down by gently using the brakes. Turn the steering wheel to return to the pavement at a safe speed. D. Slow down by gently using the brakes. Turn the steering wheel to return to the pavement at a safe speed. If your vehicle begins to leave the road, continue to drive with the wheels off the pavement and reduce your speed by gently applying the brakes. When at a safe speed, turn the steering wheel to return to the pavement. Do not attempt to force your vehicle back onto the pavement by sharply turning the steering wheel. When making a right turn on a green light, you must A. Maintain your normal driving speed. B. Stop and look for nearby police cars. C. Yield to pedestrians. D. Increase your normal driving speed. C. Yield to pedestrians. Unless a posted sign prohibits it, you may turn right or left at a steady green light. When turning, you must yield to other vehicles and pedestrians within the intersection. When a vehicle with an anti-lock braking system starts to lose traction on a slippery road, drivers should A. Pump the brakes. B. Press and hold the brake pedal. C. Press and hold the gas pedal. D. Lightly tap the brakes. B. Press and hold the brake pedal. If their vehicle loses traction on a slippery road, a driver with an anti-lock braking system (ABS) needs to press down hard on the brake pedal, hold it, and steer out of danger. In an emergency situation, the ABS automatically pumps the brakes at a faster rate than the driver could. Removing steady pressure from the brake pedal or pumping the brakes will disengage the ABS. A driver should A. Stare directly in front of their car. B. Only focus on the middle of the road. C. Watch beside, ahead, and to the rear of their car. C. Watch beside, ahead, and to the rear of their car. A driver should watch beside, ahead, and to the rear of their car. To be a good driver, you must know what is happening all around your vehicle. Under normal weather and traffic conditions, keep a minimum following distance of A. 1 second, B. 2 seconds, C. 3 seconds, D. 4 seconds. If you find that the roadway ahead of you is flooded, you should A. Slam on the brakes. B. Not drive through the flooded area. Turn around and find another route. C. Drive only in the center of the roadway. B. Not drive through the flooded area. Turn around and find another route. Never attempt to drive on a flooded road. Even if the water looks shallow, it may hide many kinds of hazards. If you encounter a flooded area, turn around and seek another route to your destination. This sign means A. There is a detour ahead. B. You must stop for flaggers. C. The road ahead is closed to traffic. D. The highway ahead is undergoing maintenance. D. The highway ahead is undergoing maintenance. Construction and maintenance signs are orange-colored and are used to notify drivers of unusual or potentially dangerous conditions in or near work areas. This sign warns drivers that they are approaching a construction zone and that they should prepare to lower their speed and drive with extraordinary caution. If you experience a tire blowout, A. Take your foot off the gas. B. Do not immediately use your brakes. C. Gradually slow down and pull off the side of the road. D. All of the above. When you are driving on the interstate and see that a vehicle will be entering your lane from an entrance ramp, you should generally A. Speed up to pass them. B. Honk your horn so they know you are there. C. Ignore them because you have the right of way. D. Change lanes to allow them room to safely merge, if possible. A passenger in a moving motor vehicle is not permitted to A. Use a cell phone. B. Sleep. C. Have an opened alcohol container. D. Use a map. You must stop for a school bus. A. That is parked on the shoulder of the road with no one in it. B. When it approaches you, even if its lights are not flashing. C. If you are both driving on a two-lane highway and its red lights are flashing. D. Whenever the driver waves at you. C. If you are both driving on a two-lane highway and its red lights are flashing. You must stop when approaching a school bus that is displaying flashing red lights while stopped to pick up or drop off children. On a two-lane road, traffic moving in both directions must stop and remain stopped as long as the red lights near the top of the bus are flashing and/or the stop arm on the left side of the bus is extended. While backing, you should A. Rely only on your mirrors. B. Flash your lights. C. Open your door to see if it is safe to proceed. D. Turn your head and look through the rear window. D. Turn your head and look through the rear window. When intending to back up, always check behind your vehicle before getting in. Children and small objects are difficult to see from the driver's seat. While backing, turn your head so you can see through the rear window. Do not depend only on your mirrors or sensors. When driving near heavy trucks, other drivers and highway users must make allowances for A. The increased stopping distance required by large vehicles. B. The decreased stopping distance required by large vehicles. C. The decreased noise of larger vehicles. D. The increased speed of larger vehicles. A. The increased stopping distance required by large vehicles. When driving near heavy trucks, other drivers and highway users must make allowances for the increased stopping distance required by the large vehicles. Drivers of smaller vehicles should remain in locations where they can be seen by the driver of the large vehicle and where their view of traffic is not blocked by the vehicle. You see pedestrians near the road. You should A. Sound your horn and maintain your speed. B. Speed up to clear the area quickly. C. Slow down and pass with caution. A flashing red traffic signal at an intersection has the same requirements as A. A slow sign. B. A yield sign. C. A stop sign. D. An intersection sign. C. A stop sign. When approaching a flashing red signal, you must stop and yield to all traffic that does not have to stop. A curb painted red means A. Loading zone. B. The area is reserved for picking up or dropping off passengers. C. No parking, standing, or stopping. C. No parking, standing, or stopping. You may not stop, stand, or park at a red painted curb. You are merging onto an interstate highway. You should A. Select a safe gap and merge into the lane of traffic. B. Merge across two lanes at once. C. Always stop before entering the highway. A. Select a safe gap and merge into the lane of traffic. Anytime you want to merge with other drivers, you need to find a gap large enough for you to safely enter into the flow of traffic. You should not stop on the entrance ramp to an interstate highway unless there are no gaps into which you may safely merge. This sign tells you that A. No turns are allowed on this road. B. The road narrows ahead. C. There are a series of curves ahead. D. The road may be slippery when wet. C. There are a series of curves ahead. This sign warns of an upcoming winding road with 3 or more curves. You are preparing to exit the interstate. When should you start reducing your speed? A. About halfway through the deceleration lane. B. As you approach the deceleration lane. C. Immediately upon entering the deceleration lane. C. Immediately upon entering the deceleration lane. When leaving an interstate, you should maintain your speed until you enter the deceleration lane, at which point you should reduce your speed to the exit ramp's posted advisory speed. If you drive faster than other vehicles on a road with one lane moving in each direction and continually pass the other cars, you will A. Get you to your destination much more quickly and safely. B. Increase your chances of an collision. C. Help prevent traffic congestion. B. Increase your chances of an collision. You should avoid passing other vehicles on two-lane roads. Every time you pass a vehicle, your odds of being in a collision increase. Children on bicycles should be given extra space by motor vehicle operators because A. They do not have the same physical reflexes as adults. B. They are smaller and more difficult to see than adults. C. Both of the above. C. Both of the above. Children are often the least predictable pedestrians and the most difficult pedestrians to see. Take extra care to look out for children, especially near schools, bus stops, playgrounds, parks, and ice cream trucks. Be aware of children riding bikes on the sidewalk, as they may come onto the road unexpectedly. A solid yellow arrow on a traffic signal means A. You should speed up so you can make the turn before the light changes. B. You do not need to signal to turn from the indicated lane. C. You should prepare to stop and yield the right of way to oncoming traffic. C. You should prepare to stop and yield the right of way to oncoming traffic. A solid yellow arrow means that the protection of a green arrow is ending. If you are turning in the direction of the arrow, you should prepare to stop and yield the right of way to oncoming traffic before turning. If there is no crosswalk and you see a pedestrian crossing your lane, you should A. Make sure the pedestrian can see you before proceeding. B. Cautiously drive around the pedestrian. C. Stop and let the pedestrian finish crossing. C. Stop and let the pedestrian finish crossing. Drivers must always yield the right of way to pedestrians in the roadway, even if there is not a marked crosswalk. Highways and roads freeze before ramps and bridges. A. True. B. False. B. False. Ramps and bridges are suspended in the air, causing them to become icy very quickly in cold weather. Drive with extra caution when crossing a bridge in freezing temperatures. Driving under the influence of any medication which impairs your driving is permitted. A. Under no circumstances. B. If you don't feel drowsy. C. If it is prescribed by a physician. A. Under no circumstances. It is illegal to drive under the influence of any substance that impairs your ability to drive safely. This includes alcohol, prescription medications, over-the-counter medications, and illegal drugs. Which of these statements is true about roadwork zones? A. Fines are the same for violations committed in work zones as they are under normal traffic conditions. B. You must slow for the cone zone. C. Slow down only if you think workers are present. B. You must slow for the cone zone. Reduce your speed and be prepared to slow down or stop for highway equipment. Driving carefully through work zones improves safety for drivers, pedestrians, bicyclists, and road workers. Who should wear a seat belt in a motor vehicle? A. The driver. B. Adult passengers. C. Passengers under the age of 18. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. Passengers must be properly secured in a seat belt when traveling in a vehicle that is required by the United States Department of Transportation to be equipped with seat belts. The driver must also be secured in a seat belt when driving a vehicle that is required by the United States Department of Transportation to be equipped with seat belts. To prevent yourself from becoming an aggressive driver. A. Relax and concentrate on driving. B. Drive above the posted speed limit. C. Tailgate the driver in front of you. A. Relax and concentrate on driving. To prevent yourself from becoming an aggressive driver, concentrate on driving and don't take the actions of other drivers personally. Be realistic about your travel time, drive within posted speed limits, and be forgiving of other drivers using the roadway. If two vehicles arrive to a four-way stop at the same time. A. The vehicle on the left must yield to the vehicle on the right. B. The vehicle on the right must yield to the vehicle on the left. C. Drivers must make hand motions to communicate with each other. D. One driver should proceed without stopping. A. The vehicle on the left must yield to the vehicle on the right. In general, vehicles at a four-way stop should proceed in the order that they arrive. However, if two vehicles arrive to the intersection at the same time, the vehicle on the left must yield the right of way to the vehicle on the right. When you see this sign, you A. Are approaching a railroad crossing and should prepare to stop. B. Will always stop at the upcoming railroad crossing. C. Should stop and wait for a signal before crossing the railroad tracks. A. Are approaching a railroad crossing and should prepare to stop. This sign indicates that you are approaching a railroad crossing. You must look, listen, slow down, and prepare to stop. Wait for any trains to pass before you proceed. If your car begins to skid out of control, you should A. Pump the brakes. B. Apply the brakes lightly. C. Stay off the brakes. C. Stay off the brakes. If your vehicle begins to skid, stay off the brakes. Continue to correct your steering until the vehicle is back under your control and moving safely down the road. Pennant-shaped signs indicate A. School zones. B. No passing zones. C. Speed limits. D. Railroad crossings. A diamond-shaped sign. A. Warns of existing or possible hazards. B. Alerts drivers to school zones. C. Alerts drivers to public recreation areas. D. Alerts drivers to upcoming food and gas locations. A. Warns of existing or possible hazards. Diamond-shaped signs warn drivers of existing or potential driving hazards. You will usually see these signs in yellow or orange. Which of the following statements is true? A. Driving too slowly is not an unsafe practice. B. Driving too slowly on certain highways can be dangerous. C. The speed at which you drive a vehicle does not affect safety. B. Driving too slowly on certain highways can be dangerous. Driving too slowly can be dangerous because it may cause drivers behind you to become frustrated and make dangerous moves to pass you. It is safest to drive with the flow of traffic, within the legal speed limit. If another car is in danger of hitting you, you should A. Sound your horn. B. Wave your arms. C. Use your emergency lights. D. Flash your headlights. A. Sound your horn. Your horn should be used to warn other drivers or pedestrians in situations where they may not see you. For example, if you think another driver is about to hit you, you should sound your horn. How can you lower the risk of hydroplaning? A. Do not speed when the roads are wet. B. Use tires with proper air pressure. C. Replace tires with bad tread. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. Hydroplaning happens when a vehicle glides on top of a thin layer of water between its tires and the road. Tires with low air pressure or bad tread can increase the risk of hydroplaning. Speeding also increases the risk. You may pass another vehicle if the line dividing your lane from the lane you wish to enter as a fill in the blank line. A. Broken white. B. Double solid yellow. C. Solid yellow. D. Solid white. A. Broken white. White lines separate traffic lanes traveling in the same direction. You may cross broken white lines to pass, as long as the passing lane is clear. At a railroad crossing, you must A. Watch for vehicles that must stop at all railroad crossings, school buses, trucks carrying hazardous materials, etc. B. Watch for multiple trains. C. Both of the above. This sign means A. One-way traffic. B. Intersection ahead. C. Merging traffic from the right. When you drive through a construction zone, you should A. Stop to watch the workers. B. Decrease your following distance. C. Pass the construction zone carefully and not rubberneck. C. Pass the construction zone carefully and not rubberneck. To avoid contributing to chronic traffic congestion, you should not rubberneck. That is, you should not slow down to look at out of the ordinary things. This sign means A. No U-turn. B. No turning. C. No left turn. A. No U-turn. This sign indicates that you may not make a U-turn. You cannot turn around to go in the opposite direction at an intersection where this sign is posted.